Hello, welcome to KleBOLD Threads, where every launch we get to know a new Shit Creek survivor. We donate money to a foundation of their choice, and we collaborate on a shirt. We get to know why they find themselves Shit Creek survivors and what helps them through those hard times. So today we have the founder of KleBOLD Threads. We will be discussing everything. Let's go. Let's go ahead and say, I don't know, what's your name? Yeah, so my name is Tashelle KleBOLD. I am the founder of KleBOLD Threads. Yeah, that's so that name. Yeah, so KleBOLD, the name carries a really negative vibe here in America, and I assume other places, you know, that was kind of the start, at least for my generation, of the school shootings and the horrors that it was. But my maiden name is actually Timberlake, so, like, why not have another well-known name? But, yeah, that part kind of stinks. But, considering this business that I'm beginning is for the Shit Creek survivors, the people who've been through, you know, hell and back, it's almost appropriate. I decided to go ahead and stick with my last name because of, like, the bold in it. But I think that what the name holds for our country kind of fits with what I'm trying to do in the fact of helping people heal. Right. Okay, well, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, maybe how old you are? I am from Amarillo, Texas. I currently am a student. I graduate in December with a degree in studio art. It's actually my second degree. I have a degree in American Sign Language. I used to work as an interpreter. I have a huge passion for the deaf community and sign language, but starting this clothing line has been a burning passion of mine for 5 or 6 years now, so that's what I'm doing. So, why do you consider yourself a Shit Creek survivor? Like, what do you feel gives you that, I don't want to say victory, but victory, like that, like I am a survivor of Shit Creek? Okay, I am a Shit Creek survivor, honestly, because I was born that way. My mother found out she was pregnant, like 3 months into her pregnancy. She was trying to lose me, the baby. The doctor made her go on severe bed rest. After that, it was, you know, she wanted to raise me. She didn't want other people to raise me, like at daycare or whatnot. And so we moved from Hereford to Nevada. Some things went down in Nevada. We had to move home. We had no money. Our car, we would like drive an hour and then stop for 2 hours and let the car cool down, and then drive an hour and then stop for 2 hours, let the car cool down because it was overheating. Everything we owned was in a horse trailer connected to our little car. We stopped in Vegas, and I locked my mother out of the hotel room. I think at one point we had to be in a hospital for like 6 days in an oxygen tent because I was having asthma attacks. We got home, and all of Mom's friends smoked and had cats and did all these things that I couldn't be around because I had such bad asthma. And so it's been she and I against the world literally from the beginning. We counted one day, and I think by the time I was in 5th grade, we'd lived in like 21 or 22 houses. We just did what we could to survive. You know, we lived in our car a couple times. We lived with my dad's ex-wife and her husband and my brother for a little bit. We've just always done what we had to do to survive. We did get on our feet in the late 90s, and then all hell broke loose again. We got black mold, we lost our business, we lost our home, we filed bankruptcy. We moved from this massive, beautiful home with a barn and a pool to a home that is smaller than... God, it was tiny. It was like... It was probably half the size of your average McDonald's. Maybe a third. It was tiny. It was tiny, tiny, tiny. Like, most efficiencies are bigger, and then you throw walls in it. Like, it was little. But we stayed there for a long time, and Mom worked like crazy, and then she got diagnosed with West Nile, and then she had to get a pacemaker. And during that time, I made friends with the wrong people. I lived a life from like the age of 15 to 17 that most people never live. That kind of crazy. But if they do, it's like in their college days. By the time I was 17, I was sober from then until I was almost 23, because of how hard we went when I was young. During the time living in that little red house, I met a very handsome man. That day we met, he said that we would get married, and I was like, that's not in my cards. But we stayed in touch, and we dated off and on, and we always stayed in touch, always, no matter what. Like, we would be dating people, whatever. A lot of other things happened, as life does, moving, relationships, yada yada. Decided to go back to school, kind of figured out who I was. And then I realized that it was time to go home. And home was to that handsome boy. I'd always told him, he had actually proposed twice in the 10-year span up until 2015. Well, 14 when he proposed, and I had said, no, like, I'm not ready. I'm still figuring myself out. I don't feel comfortable in my skin. Like, I don't even know what kind of ring I would want to wear for the rest of my life. Like, no, I'm not doing that. And so, once I realized that I had figured myself out and it was time to go home, I called him. And I said, I'm coming home. And I did. Within a month, I moved to Lubbock. He, at the time, had just recently found out that he had a daughter that he didn't know about until she was almost 5 months old. So I kind of became a mom. We raised her almost exclusively. Her mom was figuring herself out, and it's a whole nother thing, but she was my baby. She was mine. My family took her in. My mother took her in. My mother instantly was buying rocking horses and clothes and like went into grandma mode, and then he proposed and surprised me. Oh my gosh, it was a surprise. I was this is off subject, but I was like sleeping at my aunt's house, who keeps her house so hot, and so I was just sleeping in like a t-shirt and my underwear. And my mom wakes me up and she's like, Michelle, there's this baby deer, you have to come see it. And I'm like, it's like 2 a.m, and I'm like, no, I don't care about your deer. And she's like, no, you have to come see it, I'm like, alright, whatever. So I get in the car and we're driving, and all of a sudden I see this like little glimmer of light, and I was like, oh shit, there's not a deer, is it? And she just smiled. And there was a teepee, and there was lights, and there was wine and strawberries, and it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. I was totally taken off guard, obviously. And then we were engaged. I announced it on April Fool's Day because that's something I would do. And then all of a sudden we were pregnant. And we had been planning on getting married in October, but I was due in November, so that was not something I was going to do. And so we bumped it up, and obviously I announced our proposal, or our engagement, on April Fool's Day. So April, and then we got married in May 24th. And it was beautiful. It was only our family and our closest friends, and by closest friends I mean like our wedding party, and that's it. It was perfect. There was 100% chance of rain on our wedding day, and not a single drop hit the ground until after the reception, and then it flooded. But nothing. It was sunny and beautiful, and my baby bump, that was the first day it appeared. It was something else. So we went on our honeymoon. Our honeymoon was a whole different story. If it's not one thing, it's like 11 more. So we go on our honeymoon, we get home, we find this house. It's like a 3-bedroom house, and it's in the middle of a cotton field, and it's got like a shop and a 2-car garage, and it literally has a white picket fence. It's like 20 minutes outside of town. It's perfect. Like, there's room for the kids to play, there's trees, there's everything. And we weren't there very long, and my husband gets a call. And previously in the season, he had been put in a sticky situation where you can do one of two things, and either one in sight of the corporation is going to be wrong. And so he chose the one that would make customers happy and not the corporation, instead of vice versa, which the corporation would have been bad anyways. And due to that, which my husband was I can't even think. Anyways, he owned FedEx routes. Why can't I think what that's called? Anyways, so they said you have so many days to either sell them or we're taking them from you. And our whole world kind of, we thought, was thrown upside down. It was like, I remember the night, I remember everything. I was watching Twilight with our roommate, who's a man, and yeah, it was awful. I was pregnant, we had a little girl, we had just gotten our house, all of our dreams were coming true. And that was in August. Well, at the end of August, our little girl was turning 2. We had a birthday party, and it was wonderful. And that weekend, her mother decided that she wanted to see her for the weekend, and so she did. And William and I were like, yeah, that's really kind of a good time because we've got things to figure out. Which her mother saw her randomly, but she, in the 2-year span, she kept her maybe 3 times for 2 days maximum. So they would FaceTime and stuff, and I would always encourage their relationship, but it was a rarity. Anyways, so on the Sunday or Monday that she's supposed to bring her back, she calls and says that she is keeping her. She is not bringing her back. She is going to sue us for child support, and that we're not getting our baby back. So we call our lawyers, and the lawyers say, it's $30,000 to start up and go from there. We're like, well, we just lost our business and our whole source of income. We're not going to lose our baby. What are we going to do? So we call for all kinds of different jobs for him. He went to school to be a farrier. We were looking at moving to Washington. We were looking at moving to New Mexico. We were looking to move to Colorado. We were looking to move to South Texas. And mind you, I'm very pregnant and I'm very miserable. And I wanted to come home. Home was where I wanted to be. home at that point would be free for a little bit. We could get on our feet to where I could have the baby, we could get jobs, and we could fight to get our daughter back. And so we're sitting in one of our cargo trailers, and he says, okay, I'll take you home. And that night, I came home. We came home with a bunch of stuff, and we were here. And slowly we moved stuff. Our roommate was still living in the house. He was actually taking over the corporation. And so we're home. My husband works for my brother for a little bit. It's a long commute. He doesn't really want to do it. So he gets a job working just down the street temporarily until he can figure something out. And then finally he, I don't even know how he found Bodie, but he found an old friend of ours, a family friend, and Bodie hired him to ride horses, which is, my husband was a roper. That's all he ever wanted for his entire life. College was a rodeo scholarship. He actually bought 2 horses one time and brought them home when we didn't have a single fence on our property. Yeah. So, horses were a thing. And so, yeah, he was riding horses, and on October 14th, he was finishing up exercising his last horse. And so they were walking through a playa lake, or trotting through, and my husband drowned. Everything kind of goes numb. So at that point, it had been a few weeks, and my daughter's mother had let us have her back. We'd had her back for a couple days. She was actually sick. And so I had my daughter. I was still pregnant. I was 37 weeks pregnant. And I did everything you do to bury somebody, big and pregnant, and I was 24. I picked the casket, I picked the music, I picked the head. I did all the things. And the day of the funeral, I couldn't really take much, so I went and laid down. And while I was laying down resting, because mind you, I'd spent a lot of time in the hospital trying to not lose the baby. There was a lot of care being taken for the baby, which we didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. But anyways, while I was resting, my daughter's birth mother showed up with police and took her. So the day that I buried my husband, I lost my daughter. And just a few weeks later, I delivered a baby without his daddy. So, yeah, I think I'm a shit creek survivor. I think, considering that's the surface, I'm a survivor for sure. Woo! Maybe the next question's a little less intense. Whew. Well, after that, can you tell us a little bit about the moment that that you found out? Okay. Next question. That's not less intense. The moment I found out. So, like I said a minute ago, we were in the process of moving to my mother's house. And so William was at work, and I was unloading things. He would drive at night and load stuff and bring it home. Then during the day, he would work and I would unload stuff with my mother in increments that we could. And so yeah, we were just unloading stuff. One of my friends had bought these little like letter marquee things, and so I was laying them on the ground, about to set up the nursery, getting everything, you know, just being home, making it home, getting ready for the baby. And one of my mom's longest friends and one of my oldest friends, she's actually just a few years younger than me, and we always were considered sisters, always. They just dropped by. And they look kind of downtrodden, and the one that was my sister, she just looked awful, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? Like, have you been working out? Like, what is going on? And nobody would tell me. And then Mom and her friend went outside, and they came back in, and Mom sat down in the chair. I don't think I've spoken about this out loud. She sat down in the chair, and she said, "Baby William's missing. They can't find him, and he won't answer his phone. Maybe he rode the horses to Sonic. That's something he would do. Maybe he's just ridden down the street. Maybe his phone died. We don't know." Which later I found out the police were on their way to me, but I mean, how do you tell your daughter that the love of her life is dead? So I start calling him, and I call 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 him, and my mom says, "Baby, he's not picking up. He's not with us anymore." She said the police are on their way. They've been trying to get a hold of us, but since we were moving stuff, we didn't have our phones on us. We weren't big phone people anyways. And they're not allowed to do anything until they contact the next of kin. But Bodie was there and actually tried to save my husband and almost killed himself in the process, and he knew that these two people were life friends of ours. And so him and his wife told them, and they came and told Mom, and the police came and found me. And I remember like going to the corner by the fireplace and like digging in the carpet, like trying to get away, like, it couldn't be real to get away from anything out of my skin. My mom's trying to hold me and like, "Baby, you gotta breathe. You can't lose the baby. You gotta breathe." Oh, it was horrid. The paramedics came. The police came. I wound up, they had me go to the hospital to check on the baby. Everyone at the hospital knew. Everyone knew. It had already been all over the news because it was such a thing. It was in the middle of town, happened to be where this horse establishment was. Everybody knew. They hadn't said names. They had only said that they were trying to reach the man's wife and children. And so as I'm shuttled into the hospital, all the nurses, they know it's me because our best friend's a nurse there. She works in delivery. And so it's just me and this baby and my mom. And some of my closest friends came and sat with me, and they put the thing on my stomach, and I was just there. Yeah, that's the moment. that's the moment. Oh my goodness. Okay, next question. What are there things when you're out in the world or even at home that you find trigger you? So the triggers, they were everywhere for a long time. But I do a lot better now. I'm able to talk myself through them and to work it off. Do you remember your last interaction with your husband? Our last interaction, it's kind of cliche. You know how people always die after a fight? Our last interaction, it's kind of a two weird thing. He had called and said that he was on his last horse, and then he was headed home, and we were fighting because our daughter had been sick that night, and he wouldn't wake up and help me. And so I'm 37 weeks pregnant and just cranky. Anyway, so it was in a fight. But then, some point, like a week and a half later after the accident, I decided to get back and look at social media. I didn't even look at it for a long time. And I opened up Snapchat, and there was a Snap chat from my husband, and it was actually him, looking like he was doing. It's like, babe, look at what I'm getting to do. This is my job. This is incredible. And then you hear like a oh shit, and it was over. And you talk about screw somebody up. Woo! Yeah. So those were my last interactions. Yeah. So through all this, you're still here, you're standing, you're doing. What keeps you going? What gives you that strength to keep going? You hear that a lot. You hear that, I can't, you're so strong, I have so much respect for you, you're doing so much, you're doing so well. And no matter how many times you hear it, you really don't believe it, because every moment that you're not occupied, you're just everything sucked out of you. If you're not engaged in conversation or in doing or creating or working or feeding or the kid, you have to be busy all the time. So I think that's what gives me my strength is, one, my mother built me as a soldier. She built me tough. She made me tough. We went through hell and back, and we always smiled. And if we cried, we did it, and then we went on. So I think those two things are what gives me strength. Now I'm focusing on school and KleBOLD Threads and trying to be the best mom-dad combo happy human I can be for my son, and focusing on helping other people. When I lost my husband, I went searching for other young widows, and what I found was that young widows is considered the age of 40s, which is a young widow. That is a young age to lose your spouse. But it's not 24 and pregnant. And so since then, I've just been on a goal to reach people and kind of build a community of Shit Creek survivors, of people that can kind of support each other and know each other and actually be an ear that you can talk to that gets it. Because people don't get it. Friends don't get it. People who don't go home every day to their spouse and get in bed with their spouse and brush their teeth with their spouse. Well, not their spouse, but like with my spouse, like his friends, life just kind of goes on. And for the people that are in the situation, life doesn't go on. And I want to help people help each other. So that's what I'm focusing on now. Are there things that help or things that like really hurt or that kind of set you back, or things that help you moving forward? Two-part question, same answer. What helps and what hurts? Family and friends. My family and friends have been everything, and my family and friends have been Next. Last question. I am creating a business that's going to force me to live in my scars. Because, one, a t-shirt line of this nature has been my dream for years. And now I know that God has put it on my heart and in my mission for life to help others and to be a real voice, not a eat, pray, love, blah, 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 fluffy candy canes bullshit. That's not real life. That's that fake shit that you see from the people that give Christians a bad name. It's not that. And I'm a Shit Creek survivor, and I'm tough as hell, and I want to help others that maybe they're tough too, or maybe they need some strength. Maybe they just want like something that makes you feel like, I did this, I'm doing this, like this is me, this is my life, I'm taking control. I didn't have control of whatever it is that happened to me, but damn it, I have control of this, I have control of what I wear, I have control of how I move forward. And if I can do that and I can reach people and help them to do that, then I will live in my scars forever. So, thank you very much to me for the interview with me. And look forward to the next launch where we will be getting to know another Shit Creek survivor. Bye guys. Hopefully next launch will be a little less awkward since the interviewee and the interviewer won't be the same person. See you next launch. Bye guys. Hello, and wow! Just kidding. Redo. Still recording. Okay. Hello, and welcome to KleBOLD Threads. Here, shit. Okay. Three dominant traits. I'm loud. Like, loud. And I tend to embarrass people. I don't know if is that a personality trait? I embarrass people. My best friend, she's always on guard when we're in public because I don't know. After everything happened in my life in the past few years, I just realized that, like, nobody cares. Like, once the moment is gone of, like, whatever I did, like, if I fall on my face, once that moment's gone, the people will laugh, and then it's over. Like, nobody cares. They have their own stuff going on. They've got their own... They don't care. So, I just live now. I climb walls. I mean, I try not to do, like, anything illegal. But I just go. I just live. I just exist. And live in each moment and try as best I can to just do me. That was a long trait. My third trait would be... I guess that with my mouth, I'm extremely bold. However, with my body, I am a chicken shit. I, like, won't go down slides into the pool. The scariest thing I'll do is, like, jump a little, like, 4-foot fence. Oh, that's cute. Whoops. So, yeah. That could be a trait. Sorry.